Hey, what's up? We're lifewithoutpants here with another Path of Exile video, and in today's video, well, Lego calendar is looking really great. We've got the patch notes have dropped, the balance manifesto has already been and gone. In this video, we're going to be looking at several vendor recipes that are essential to a quick exit from the campaign. Loads and loads of these are going to be useful for mapping as well, whether you're hit maps first or if you're getting into those high red tiers. I'm going to be putting out several league start guides for this expansion, so subscribe to stay tuned to all of those, and maybe let me know in the comments down below if you think this is a useful video. I think there's a few vendor recipes that I probably missed, so let me know which ones those are if you think they're also useful. Chuck it a like, it helps it get into other people's feeds, and without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so the first recipe we're going to cover is creating one of your own resistance rings, and this means you can just get any iron ring. I find these quite frequently whilst playing through the campaign, and you can vendor it with a gem of that specific color for that specific type of resistance you want to make. So if you want to make a cold resistance ring, just a iron ring and a blue gem will get you a cold resistance ring. If you get a red one, it will get you a ruby one, and obviously for a green one you get a topaz ring, and is also super useful for the next recipe. Okay, so this next craft is going to be added flat damage to wands, and this is either for wands, scepters, or rune daggers as well. This flat damage is huge. There are 3 tiers of this craft. You can do it at level 8, level 14, and level 20. The level 21 is enough for most spell builds to carry you all the way through to the end game into maps quite easily without ever having to upgrade your wand at all. So the very base of this recipe is you take a resistance ring, whether it's lightning, cold, or fire, depends on what you will get, and you take a magic wand of any type. The sockets will be preserved, which is quite useful to know, and an orb of alteration. So if we just chuck this in here, you can see we've got a adds 2 to 21 lightning damage to spells. And if I just hold down Alt here, you can see this is tier 8. Now you can get tier 7, which will grant you a slightly better flat damage, and you can do that by making this a magic ring. So now if we do this, you can see here this is tier 7, so it adds 2 to 33 lightning damage. And then again, you can obviously upgrade this one more time. So if you have a rare ring, then this turns into a 2 to 46. That's a tier 6 flat damage added. Obviously tier 1 is the best. And you can do this with wands. You can also do this with scepters. So if we chuck this in here, oh, it's probably not going to work because it's not a magic one. Let's just, oh, we were going to get a scour there. So let's just scour this real quick, and then turn it into a magic one, and then go back to Nessa. And if we turn in these, then we get here a tier 6 crackling lightning damage. Now if you change the type of ring you have, then obviously you can change this into added flat damage, cold flat damage, fire flat damage. Change the type of ring that you're using in order to get whatever it is that you need. And I know rare rings not that readily available during the campaign. There's not very many of them, but you can just get literally any kind of crappy essence and chuck it on your ring, and boom, you got a magic one, and then you can go and sell these 3 things to any vendor and you will get this flat damage wand. So let's get to the next one. Okay, so this next one is for daggers, scepters, wands, and staffs, and it's for just spell damage, generic increased spell damage on your wand. Perhaps you're using a build that doesn't benefit from flat damage for some reason. And for this, you can sell just it's a chain belt. It has to be either magic, rare, or unique. Unique is the highest tier. I think it's tier 6. And magic is the lowest. You can't use a white item for this. So it's just a chain belt, blacksmith's whetstone, and your scepter or wand or whatever it is. So here you can see this is increased spell damage. It's 10 to 19%. It's tier 8. You can also take this one out and just use any essence. I know that rare chain belts, maybe you don't find that much jewelry during the campaign. It's pretty common for me, but I usually find a pretty garbage essence somewhere around Brutus or something like that. So you can just turn this chain belt, just buy one from the vendor and turn it into a rare weapon with that, and then you get, let's see, 29% increased spell damage. It can be quite a lot during the beginning of the campaign, and this can last you quite some time. It's also quite useful when you're making some sort of early game crafting. Now, this is a general thing for qualitying items. You always want to, if you can, quality something when it is a normal item. Perhaps you don't always get the chance to do that. Say for unique rings, those kinds of things, you're not going to be able to do that. But if you're going to quality an item at all, then you want to do it when it's at normal rarity. So you see here these fish scale gauntlets. If I put quality on with these armor scraps, it puts 5% on each time per one. If I turn it into a magic item and then I put it on, it only does 2%. So it increases it quite a lot from 4 to 10. Now this applies to anything you put quality on at all. So this, life flasks or any kind of flask for that matter, if you're using glass blowers baubles, then a normal item will take 5% quality per item used on it. Maps will take 5% per, but if you turn it into a magic one, then it's going to take even more chisels to get it to the right quality. And if it's a rare or unique one, then it's going to only do 1% quality per quality currency you're using. So there's if I turn this into a rare spiked club, then pretty decent rare spiked club for, was it item level 13. But if we use this blacksmith whetstone on it, then it only does 1% quality per blacksmith whetstone used. So a much better strategy is to use it straight away, quality it whilst it's normal, and then turn it into a rare weapon if that's possible. Okay, this is the last one for this section, the early campaign section, and this is a added fizz damage to weapon recipe. So we're going to use a blacksmith whetstone, a rustic sash, and then any weapon. It can be wand, it could be a scepter, it could be a dagger, a rune dagger, it could be an axe. We're going to take this boarding axe here, and you can see we've got 42% increased physical damage, and that is a tier 8 modifier on this. And you can get tier 7 and tier 6, and again, it's because of the rarity of the rustic sash here. So if this is a magic one, it's tier 8. If it's rare, then it's tier 7. And if it's unique, it's tier 6. So if I just regal this now, then this now becomes tier 7 serrated. So it's better the higher the rarity of the rustic sash you get. So let's get into the second section of this video, the late game campaign. This is going to be sort of acts 6 to 10. Okay, a couple of things to cover here, and the first one is Orbs of Chance. These are incredibly important. I cannot stress how important these are for the early mapping experience and to pick up as much as you can during the campaign. Now, they drop quite sparingly. I usually find I have around 10 or so by the time I get to early maps, but if you see one, it's one of the, even if I'm racing, it's one of the few things I'll actually turn around and go back for. I have on my loot filter, I think I've got the tie loot filter, so if I drop it, it says I found a chance. So I never ever have to skip out on them. They're really, really useful, and you use them to buy maps from Kirac later on, as soon as you get into the end game. So we can go over to Kirac now, and you can see this guy is around as soon as you finish the campaign. Then you can go into your hideout and he can be found there. And if you see all of these maps, they all cost Orbs of Chance. So Orbs of Chance, really, really useful to pick up. Whatever you do, do not skip them. I would never use them unless I was doing solo self-found and I was doing maybe a seismic trapper and I was picking up lots of runic daggers to try and chance them into cold iron points, because that's a really, really big boost. But other than that, I would always save these, and they're super useful. Another important thing to think about is when you're in acts 6 to 10, you've done the first quest, which is clear the Twilight Strand of zombies, and that means that you can buy any skill gem you want from Lily. It's not leveled as the gems that you get during the campaign will be, but it does mean that you can buy anything you want, especially if it's a copy of your main skill gem. So for example, I'm using Lightning Strike, and what I would do is I would, in my offhand, now I've got some angers here because I'm just leveling them to corrupt them, so I get a 21 anger and then I sell that. But I would put, if I was leveling through Lightning Strike, then I would put 3 extra Lightning Strike gems in here, in probably 3 rapiers, and then I would level them in my offhand during the campaign. Now there's a couple of really good reasons for that. A 21 gem will cost you a lot of money if you're playing in softcore. If you're in solo self-found, you're probably doing this already. But also for spell skill gems, 1 extra level going from 20 to 21 is 15% more damage. Not increased damage, but more damage. So you definitely want to be getting a 21 gem. For Lightning Strike, it's also super useful as well, but for anger, and especially for a lot of auras, I think most of this league determination, a level 21 determination, has been around 90 chaos and around 4 for a corrupted 20. So if you can hit a couple of, I find generally if I corrupt 6 of them, I'll get, it's like 1 in 8 or so that I actually get to 21, but still, it's really a good source of extra money. And if you're, again, doing a spell gem, then because every level is 15% more damage, I would actually get them to level 19 and then corrupt all 6 of them, or at least, you know, do one at a time until I get one that's 20 and then replace my main skill gem with the level 20 version because it's 15% more damage just straight away. And then I would start leveling a bunch of others as well so I can get to the 21. But it's really useful thing to do. At the beginning of a league, it can really carry your damage, especially if you're playing a spell gem, so bear it in mind. Now this next one is really useful if you're, say you're in the late campaign and you're doing Blood Aqueducts runs. I myself did not know this for so long, but you can, instead of clicking and going to an instance, you can hold down Control and it brings up the instance manager, and that means you can create a new instance. So you do 1 Blood Aqueducts run to get lots and lots of XP, and then you can open a new instance where there's, you know, new monsters finally. So you don't have to wait 15 minutes. I think I remember hearing about somebody who used to wait 15 minutes every time. They used to go AFK, and then as soon as they were AFK, they would suddenly stop being AFK and start going into Blood Aqueducts again. So you can do this as many times as you want. You don't actually need to complete the instance or anything like that, but a really useful way of resetting instances is just control clicking on the waypoint. Something else you should know as you're running through the campaign, and you know how useful those Orbs of Chance are, is that if you find a unique belt, maybe you find, I don't know, Baited Breath or some other, like a crappy unique that you don't really need, there is a straight flush recipe. So that means that I've got this Diadem Dawn. It's just like at the league launch, I would probably sell this, but if I got something like a Worm's Malt or some other kind of leather belt that's not very good, then if you take a normal, a magic, and a rare, along with a unique one, and you vendor them all, then you get some Orbs of Chance from the vendor. So you can put all these in and you get 5 Orbs of Chance, and this is really useful. Basically, this is going to cost you a few wisdom scrolls to buy the belts from the vendor, a transmute, and one of the crappy essences that you weren't going to use anyway. It really pays out because this is basically 2 maps later on. It's a really useful boost. Okay, so you've managed to get through the campaign, you have maps, and you need Orbs of Chance to be able to buy those maps from Commander Kirac. Obviously, you want to drop as many as possible as well. There are a few things you can do to help out with that. Now, you can buy from the vendor, you can buy Orbs of Chance. They cost 1 Orb of Fusing, which is pretty steep. You probably want to be saving your fusings for 6 linking or for, you know, just generally improving your gear. But if you really need to, then you can buy them from the vendor for an Orb of Fusing for the Chance Orbs. But what is also very useful is that an Orb of Fusing is just 4 Jeweler's Orbs. So if you sell any 6 socket item, you generally will have these on your loot filter for the early part of the league. Any 6 socket item will get you 7 Jeweler's Orbs, and then you got, let's just say you had one already, and then you can buy a couple of, maybe not that many. You can buy a couple of Fusing Orbs, and then for your Fusing Orbs, you can buy a couple of Chances. And now you've got enough for 1 new map. So basically almost every 6 socket item that you find is about as much as another map, or maybe half a map. So really, really useful to know. Another useful thing to know about mapping is that you can 3-to-1 any map to a map 1 tier higher. So I have here some shore maps, they're tier 5, and if I just put 3 of them in, I get a tier 6 Bramble Valley. Now, for the programmers amongst you, there is a UUID associated with each of these things, or we think it's a UUID. So if I change this one out with this one, then it will change the type of map I get in return. So, you know, it's probably some kind of sum or something that they're working with, but if you take these 3 as well, they also turn into a Bramble Valley. But if I take this one out and put this one in, it's a Summit. And this is a way, if you have 4 of one specific type of map, then you can get you know, at least 3 different types of other map. These waste pools I can turn into a Grave Trough. You know, this goes across you know, yellow, white, and red maps. This is really, really useful for getting to the next tier of maps. Now, obviously, no talk of maps would be complete without talking about Commander Kirac. This guy has got maps available here. If you hold down Alt, then you can see whether you've completed the map and if you completed the bonus objective for the map. And we'll talk a little bit about bonus objectives in a minute. But he has all of these maps available to you. He also sells you know, Orbs of Unmaking and chisels and stuff. I generally only would ever buy Surveyor's Compasses this way, maybe some Orbs of Unmaking at the beginning of a league. Orbs of Regret are incredibly expensive, so buying Orbs of Unmaking with them is, I wouldn't really do it. But if you see here, oh, I definitely want that one actually, and this one too, and this one as well. So these are all going to cost, if they're low level maps, then they're just Orbs of Chance. And then once you get into the higher tier maps, then they turn into Orbs of Alchemy, also based on whether they are magic or rare. So this Wolf map is 3 Orbs of Alchemy. But then this Resonance map is, you know, 9 Chaos Orbs. Probably not worth it. It was probably easier to get this from another player. Maybe if you're just the first person to get to Residence, then, you know, then obviously that's different. But also this inventory he has here will change. Obviously it changes every time you change level, and that means if you level up or if you level down, and we'll talk about leveling down in our Infinite Heist video to come later. But his inventory will change completely every time you either level up or level down, and also when you do a Kirac mission. So if we just go over to our map device here, we've got loads of Kirac missions here. So let's just say I want to complete these rituals. I've got quite a few, so we just activate this and then we come back to Kirac here, and this is all different. There was a div card here before, so now we can buy some Awakened Zexons if we want to. But this is a really, really good way to rapidly cycle through the Kirac's missions in order to make, you know, get to all the maps you don't have, get to all of the bonus points. And speaking of bonus completion on the Atlas, how do you get it? Well, there are different requirements for different tiers of maps. So white tier maps, all you need to do is you need to have a magic map, and that's it. You can just go and complete this and you'll get your bonus objective for it. For yellow tier maps, then you need to be running it with an Orb of Alchemy or an Orb of Binding. Basically, it just needs to be a rare map. And then for red maps, you need to both have it as a rare map and it needs to be corrupted, a corrupted rare map. And this can mean it can change, it can actually change the type of map it is. So Alleyways could change it to something else, or it could change it to a Vile Temple map. It's a little bit more risky than the other ones, but it's, you know, when you get to that level, when you get to red tier maps, then those last few points on the Atlas are really, really worth it. And speaking of which, let's look at our Atlas and figure out which points are good to take. So for my money, obviously map sustain is always a problem for, I think, almost every league. There's always a few complaints about map sustain, and these nodes here, shaping the mountains and shaping the skies, these are incredibly good. Basically, you get a 15% chance for maps to be 1 tier higher. That's super useful. Both of these really, really, really good. And, you know, this one, Shaping the Mountains, you get 10% chance to gain a free random map crafting option. That's just really, really useful. And then 3% chance for this one to get a special map crafting outcome, and that's stuff like Monstrous Treasure. Then Shaping the Seas and Shaping the Valleys, also very, very useful. Another 30% chance total from both of these. There are lots of 0.5% chance for map drops to be duplicated nodes around the tree. These are also very, very good. And then at the beginning of a league, I would probably go with this wheel as well. This is the Kirac wheel. You get some, extra chance to get Kirac missions. You get lots more Atlas scouting reports in your maps. And then this node here, gain 1 additional Kirac mission each day. So I think for me, this node has limited use. It's only the first 4 days maybe before I've completed all the Atlas nodes. So I would have this on for 4 days, and then I would deallocate it. But these two nodes, the Shaping the Seas and Shaping the Valleys, and these Shaping the Mountains and Shaping the Skies, these are the most useful for map sustain, along with the Kirac wheel. The Kirac wheel, again, first 4 days, maybe a week. It depends how much you're pushing at league launch. And then the last thing that's really, really going to help you with map sustain is getting all your Voidstones, which are they are the things that increase the tier of the maps on your Atlas, and also they have a 25% chance to increase the tier of a map being dropped by 1. And you get 1 from killing Searing Exarch, you get 1 from killing Squidward, the Eater of Worlds, you get 1 from killing Maven, and you get 1 from killing Uber Elder. So those are things that maybe it might take you a while to get those. These are much more sort of end game stuff. If you're completing your Atlas within the first week, you're doing super good. So these things also really, really useful to increase the amount of maps you drop and to beef up your map sustain. Okay, so you've been blasting through the campaign, you're into your early mapping experience, and you want to beef up your damage. Maybe that flat damage is starting to fall off a little bit. This is where a +1 to level of all physical spell skill gems or fire cold skill gems wand or scepter would really, really help, and that's exactly what you can make. So we're just going to sell any, I think it's scepter, rune dagger, wand, or staff, just normal quality. Again, this will preserve the sockets. And then you want skill gems with the appropriate tag for the type of wand you're trying to make. So if you're trying to make a fire spell skill gem wand, then you want to have fire as one of the tags in the gem that you're using, and you need 40 quality amongst those gems. So see here I've got Wild Strike, that's got 7% quality. I've got Frostbite, this has got 19% quality, and I've got this Herald of Ice, and unsurprisingly I'm going for a cold level of spell skill gems scepter here. So that quality this needs to add up to 40%. You can use just 2 gems for this if you have 2 gems with that are 20 each, or one that's 17 and one's 23. You could add a whole inventory of them that's 1% quality each. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can just chuck these in, and we see here I've got a +1 level of all cold spell skill gems, and that's because Herald of Ice has got a cold tag, Frostbite has got a cold tag, and Wild Strike has got a cold tag. And this, you use it with any just normal weapon, and this is a really, really useful way to get a a fairly decent endgame weapon. I think it was a 316. I was killing Maven with something like this. And just to make sure there's no confusion here, this works for cold, fire, lightning. It also works for physical and for chaos. So if you find 40% quality of chaos skill gems, then you can use this as well. Obviously support gems also work fine. It just needs to be 40% quality in total across the gems, and any caster kind of weapon, so staff, rune dagger, wands, scepters, they're all fine. Okay, and obviously no talk about maps would be complete without talking about Orbs of Horizon. Now, there are what are called natural tiers of maps. So if you have all of your Atlas upgraded, then, everything drops as a tier 16, or, perhaps only your loot filter picks up tier 16 maps. I've got a lot of, I've got 1,200 tier 16 maps and, only 66 tier 15 maps. But say these Acid Caverns maps, they have, or tier 16 has a natural tier, which means that when I use an Orb of Horizons, there are only 4 different types of map it can roll into, and that's this league, or at least 318 that I'm doing this in now. So there's Superior Caldera, there's Burial Chambers, there's Lava Lake, and Residence. And those are the 4 natural tiers of maps. So if I take any other tier 16 map, it will only go into one of those 4 things. So Lava Chamber, Residence, Caldera, and then we'll get Burial Chambers eventually. And there is this information about which tier is which is usually included in an announcement for the item filter information for that league. So for like a calendar, whenever you see, it's not normally in the patch notes is what I'm trying to say. So if you want to know which tiers are going to be which maps in this coming league, then there's a cheat sheet which is usually uploaded. Sorry about the flashbang. It's usually updated. I think it's on Reddit. Somebody does this, and this is really, really useful because if you say, like me, want to run a lot of Harvest quite early on, then you know that Dunes is a really, really easy layout for Harvest. So if I get any T10 maps, then I'm going to be re-rolling them into Dunes as soon as I can. But also, if you're missing say a tier 14 map and you have, I don't know, 20 Orbs of Horizons, then it's likely that when you get a strand, you'll be able to turn it into a beach, fields, alleyways, or fungal hollow map. So if if you're missing your fungal hollow map, you can just re-roll it into fungal hollow using Orbs of Horizon. Now that's super, super useful. I'm going to include a link to this natural tier down in the description, and also a video I've made specifically on these where we go a bit more deeper into them, again down in the description, so take a look at those. All right, and another really, really useful one during early mapping is, especially when you want to try and get your Pantheon done, you need 3 for your major, and then at least 1 for the minor. And if you sell to any vendor, just any 3 life or mana flasks, does not work with hybrid flasks, but just 3 life or mana flasks and a divine orb, then you will get 5 divine vessels back. And at the beginning of a league, divine orbs are like 4 chaos, and divine vessels are like 3. So you can, this is a really useful way to actually make some money very, very early on if you start flipping these divine vessels. Obviously you need to get a bunch of flasks, but flasks are pretty easy to come by, but getting the divine orbs can be quite difficult. Obviously, if you get a 6 link item at the beginning of a league, you're definitely not going to be vendoring it. You're going to be selling it because those are worth around 20 chaos, even if they're just really, really bad. Another thing that's really, really useful if you're getting through into red maps, you want to have a really good anoint on your amulet, or perhaps on your rings if you're going to do lots of blight. And if you have the premium blight stash tab, then you may know this already, you can do it inside that, but you can 3-to-1 upper level, like with maps, but for oils. So I got some clear oils here, and if I sell 3 of them to the vendor, I will get a sepia oil back. And you can do the same thing all the way up to golden oils. Golden oils don't turn into tainted oils or anything like that, or the new mirrored oils. But this is a really, really useful way to make sure that you can get to whatever you want. Again, here's the premium one, so you can just you can click on these and upgrade the ones you want straight away. A couple of useful things about fragments here as well. Now I generally find that I find a lot of sacrifice fragments like these. You can put all 4 of these in to a map device like this. So you do that, oh no, not that, that, and this will open a portal to the Apex of Sacrifice, where you get is normal at Ziri. This is where you can get at Ziri's Step, the really, really good slink boots, and you can also get the Amethyst Flask, the Ziri's unique Amethyst Flask, both really, really good uniques and very, very good early on. This is a level 70 zone. If you don't want to go and do that, then you can just take one of these out, and these will give you 5% quantity per if you put these in with a map. You can also just put 1 in like this and activate it, and it will open a Vaal side area. And this is really, really good if you have no Vaal orbs, but you've got a lot of these sacrifice fragments, because you seem to have gotten them from map bosses, which I find I get them from map bosses a lot because I have those nodes allocated on the passive skill tree. But if we just run through this map here, then this little Vaal side area, It's much easier than trying to find them in maps. This is also a really good source of, if you're in Solar Self-Found, this is a really good, this is one of the best ways to get Vaal Orbs, but it's also a really good way to get Vaal skills. So like Vaal Lightning Strikes is a really good place to get that, or Vaal Molten Shell. This Vaal Vessel at the end here has a bunch of stuff in it. So if we open it up, we get a Sacrifice Fragment as well. But then, Vaal Flame Blast or Vaal Power Siphon, perhaps these are really useful to us. There's a Scarab Recipe as well in the game, so you can take 2 of any of the same type of scarabs. So you could take 2 rusted Elder Scarabs and Orb of Horizons, and it will give you a random scarab back. The only guarantee here is it will not be a Elder Scarab. It could be a rusted cartography scarab. It's the same tier to the same tier. So if you put 2 gilded scarabs in, you'll get a gilded scarab back. If you put 2 winged scarabs in, you'll get a winged scarab back. Some people go in for gambles on League Start with putting in winged blight scarabs and hoping to get winged divination card scarabs back out. So if you see here, then we turn this into a rusted expedition scarab, and obviously you can do this with just a large amount of stuff as well. So if there's, I don't really want any of these sulfite scarabs, and so I've got 20 of those, so I just need 10 of these Orbs of Horizon, and I can go and vendor these, and I get 10 scarabs back, and none of them will be sulfite scarabs. So we got some reliquary, got some shaper, got some elder scarabs back. And it's on to the last tip, and this one is about gems. Now, I'm going to do a separate video on Infinite Heist, but this is really, really useful in Infinite Heist. So, first of all, there are a couple of things. Maybe you have, you've been leveling gems in your offhand, maybe precision, and you've leveled it up too far because the mana reservation goes up really, really high. Or perhaps too high for your build. So you got your precision, and you want to take a level off it. So there's a level 7 precision I've got here, and if I put a scour and a gem into the vendor window, then it's going to de-level that gem by 1. So this is going to take it down to 6. You can only do this with non-corrupted gems, obviously. Now, maybe you also regret many things in life, and leveling precision is another one of those things. So you can take any level precision and an Orb of Regret, and it will give you a level 1 version of that gem. Now, this works for gems with no matter what quality they are. So if you've got a level 7 and 16% quality gem, you'll get a level 1 16% quality gem back. This is also really useful if you get those alternate quality gems from Heist and you've leveled it too high, or you just want it to be level 1 and 20% quality. Whatever it is, it's super useful. There's one other thing you can do as well with gems, which is called gem flipping sometimes, but you can get any level 20 gem and 1 gem cutter's prism and vendor that to the vendor, and you will get a level 1 20% quality gem back. This is, if say for Lightning Strike that we're using, I would get around day 3, day 4 of the league, I would start saving up some Lightning Strikes in my offhand. I would level them all to level 20, and then I would flip them to be level 1 and 20% quality, and then I would level them up again, and then I would try to take them into the Vaal Temple, into the Temple of Aswattle, to try and get a 21 Vaal Lightning Strike, or 21-23 gem, which is really, really useful from the Double Corruption Chamber. So that's it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed these tips and tricks. They've certainly helped me a lot during each league launch. They helped me to really, really get ahead of the game, ahead of a lot of the competition. This league is going to be a very, very interesting one. I'm really looking forward to it. Please, come by, sub by the channel, and have a look. We're on twitch.tv/lifewithoutpants. Come and ask questions. We're super noob friendly in the chat because everybody's a noob once, and I'm pretty sure I'm still a noob no matter how many of these videos I make. So come and have a chat with us. It's really great. We're going to be streaming a lot during the league launch. I hope you like the Infinite Heist video that we're putting out. I hope you really enjoy the league starters. It's looking to be really, really fun, this league. So without further ado, I hope you're kind to everyone you meet. I love it all very much, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks.